All right, what's up, folks? So, a little cold today. Out here in the shop messing around, and supposed to be cleaning the yard, but it's way too cold for that. So I figured I'd get started on another little project I wanted to work on for a while now. I've got a bit of a mini bike addiction since I've been doing these Gambler 500s, and I built some regular ones. I built one of the small ones, and then I built one of the Baja ones with the front suspension. And then I saw this thing laying in my yard, and I was like, hey, that's just cool enough that we could make it super sketchy and try not to let anybody die on it. But if they get hurt, they get hurt, whatever. So, without further ado, I was looking at it. It's a chain drive. And actually, I gotta look at it. It might be backwards. Yeah, it is backwards, but I'm gonna try to figure out a way. Maybe I can just flip this wheel around and put all the controls on the other side. This needs to be over here to make it work right. It needs to be on the left side, but it's just a little chain drive. Got a little electric motor. It has two batteries hanging that were inside the slot here. The motor's held on by 4 Allen bolts right here. I'm gonna pull those off, get that out of the way. Probably gonna cut this mounting plate out of the way just to make more room. I may end up having to build new mounting dills for the seat to raise it up higher, so I'll have room for the chain in here. But with this being a 4-bolt sprocket, I believe I can take one of my 420 or 35 sprockets, re-drill it, and use it on here, and then I can just use a regular centrifugal clutch on the Predator motor. Now, those Predators are about 6.5 horse, supposed to be. That's what they're advertised as out of the box. We take them down, take the governor out of it. We do new jet in the carburetor, put a better intake on it and better flowing exhaust. So we get a little bit more out of it. It goes a little bit higher RPM than what a stock one does. And they're pretty gnarly little motors. I've got one on my little mini bike, and it's super fast. I don't know what the top speed is. And then I've got one with a torque converter on my bigger mini bike. And then we've got 5 or 6 go-karts that we race that are built on them. And like with the go-karts, they'll spin the tire on pavement. They'll do donuts on concrete. And they definitely run fast enough. We've seen people get hurt pretty good on it. But that's the plan. I'm just going to cut out this bottom part to access the bolts for mounting the motor from the bottom. I'm going to mount a mounting plate up here on this. However I need to. It's going to have to be pretty offset to this side because where the chain needs to line up. Unless I use a jack shaft, but I doubt I'll do that. And then build some pegs so my feet won't be up against the motor and my legs won't be rubbing on anything. And then we'll put it together and see. So I'll check in a minute. All right, got the wheel switched around. It just went right on. All you had to do was just turn it around. I don't know how. I'll probably just put a foot brake on here for the brake like I did on the other one. I don't know about that yet, but yeah, we got that switched around. I got this mounting plate cut off. Still needs to be grounded up a little bit. So next is mounting a mounting plate right there. And then after we do that, we're gonna have to check and see if this opening is gonna be big enough for the chain to go through. I don't think it is. I think we're gonna have to cut this off and raise it up. All right, people. We are back over here messing with the Deathtrap build. It's been a few days. Didn't get to work on it for a couple days. Had to go Power Sports yesterday and pick up some parts. Shout out, Go Power Sports. But I think I've got everything I need now to get this thing running and driving. The only thing I might be short on is chain, but I think I can piece something together. But the weather warmed up. We're going to get started on this thing and see what happens. Look at this. It's just ridiculous. Look how big the motor is compared to the frame. This whole thing is maybe 3-foot wheelbase. It's tiny. It's going to be a death trap. I got a new cam for this motor because it went flat. The intake side of the cam went flat. So the guys at Go Power Sports hooked me up. It went flat right after I got it, and they helped me out. Got me another cam, and we'll see. The motor's going to be hot. I got a stage 1 kit for it, and it's going to be pretty dirty. All right, so real quick, I kind of want to go through a parts list and price, just so you kind of know what you're dealing with here if you decide to build one of these. The scooter I got for free. It was at a house that I was working on. They didn't want it. They didn't have a charger or anything for it. So I got the scooter for free. That's zero. The motor is definitely going to be the most expensive thing I've got for this thing. That's like $250 for that Tillotson motor stock. I got a new jet for the carb, new gaskets for the carb, and then this is the adapter to run a cone filter and a cone filter. I got that. That's the new cam I got. That didn't cost me anything. I got motor mount plate. Pretty nice one. It's all boxed in. Chain. That's not mine. That's from my brother. Exhaust pipe. A couple of bolts. And this jack shaft setup. And everything that I got cost me right at like $140. So not expensive to build this. I'm going to be in this thing for about $400, but that's including the motor. You don't have to use this motor. Like I said, this is a higher end motor. You could just run a Predator on here and you can get those motors for about $100. Or you can run an old flat top motor on it and be the same thing. Just be not quite as much power, not as reliable, I guess. And you can get those way cheap. People pretty much give those away. That's what we got. All right, so this first thing we're working on is our jack shaft. This is the bearing washer, holder, whatever you want to call it. The bearing fits in here so the shaft can run through the middle. And then we'll have to put another one right over here. It was too wide, so I had to add an extra little piece of plate over here so I can add another, that's hot. Add another one of these, and then we'll get the shaft put in, and I'll show you what all that's for. If you're not in a place where you can throw water on something after you get done welding it to keep yourself from burning, dip a rag in cold water, keep it pretty wet, and then you can rub it down and it'll cool it down enough. So that'll get to where you can touch it. And then also I'm putting bearings in this so that extreme heat isn't going to hurt my bearings now. All right, so now I'll show you what the point of that is. So you want your motor mounts to be in the middle of the mini bike, right? The problem with that on these little skinny mini bikes, or in this case the scooter, is the shaft sticks way further than where the sprocket is. So the sprocket is way back in where the motor is. This jack shaft that I just put on allows you to put these sprockets on here. You line it up with the clutch, where the clutch is going to be, and you've got a chain going around that. And then this one, you put where it goes to where it lines up with the sprocket. Like so. Then you run a chain from there to the sprocket. You run one from clutch to that. And then as that turns, it turns the shaft, which turns the sprocket, which turns the rear sprocket. Comprende? There you go. So if you ever need to do that, just remember that. It's a little jack shaft setup. Costs about $50 for that whole setup right there. Weld it in place and rock and roll. Listen, I don't know why nobody's done this yet. This motor mount plate that I got is built perfect to go on these tabs that held the body on. It'll reach all 4 tabs, and then you've got a little bit of adjustment. You can go forward or backwards with it, but it's got perfect little sit in place where you could do it. Why has nobody had this idea before? I'm pretty sure I'm the first one to do this. I don't know, maybe I'm an idiot. All right, quick update on the little scooter, Deathtrap. I got the plastics pulled off the handlebars so it kind of matches the rest. I got all new controls to go on the handlebars and stuff. I got the motor mount plate mounted, welded out. I got the jack shaft mounted and welded out. And then I've got the new sprocket put on the wheel. Now, we didn't do this the right way, but we did it the way we're going to. We just welded that sprocket directly to the sprocket that was on there. And it's real ugly, it wouldn't weld real good, but hopefully it will at least let us ride it enough to see how she runs. But there she is. I'm about to put the new cam in the motor and then get ready to mount that bad boy on here. All right, I got the other cam put in the motor. Got the motor sitting on there. It only has 1 bolt in it. I gotta go get to some other stuff for this evening and get a couple more bolts tonight. Maybe get another roll of chain, and then hopefully tomorrow we'll be riding this thing. But it's just little enough to be sketchy. I'm gonna have to build some pegs on it. I may just do floorboards, I don't know yet. But that's what we're looking at. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got the 4 mounting bolts in to the motor, and we got the clutch on. I'm about to put a bolt in here to hold that on. I've already got the set screws. So we're getting closer to putting the chain on. Now this, at the bottom, looks a lot skinnier now. It's because it had just a little sheet metal box, that one, up underneath to hold the batteries. So I just popped that out. We'll probably end up going back, seeing how this thing is. We'll probably go back and re-strengthen this a little bit before we're done. But this also, taking that off, gives us access to the bottom of the bolts, make it easier to tighten those up. But I'm gonna get ready, do that, tighten that up, put this chain on, put the other chain on, set the sprockets, tighten up the chain, and then put all my controls on the old handlebars like this, and we should be ready to test drive this bad boy. Air up the front tire, we should be ready to go. All right, boys, we ran into another little issue. This piece right here is in the way to get a chain from here to our sprocket. It either goes over and hits or it goes under and hits. So I'm gonna cut it here, I'm gonna slide it up and put it about right here. And that'll get it out of the way. So, just more work, we'll get it. All right, well, we got the motor running right. It just had some bad gas in it. We had to get it going, but we broke a bunch of stuff on that thing without even really riding it good. First, it threaded the hub off of the wheel because we had flipped the wheel around. So I flipped the wheel back around the other way, slid the sprocket over and made it work. And then I immediately broke the seat mounts because it just wants to do wheelies. And it also broke the jack shaft mount because none of that metal's thick enough to support something like that. So we had to scrap that idea. I got it in the back with my other mini bike. So we're going to pull that Tillotson off now that I got it running right, put it on my big mini bike, and scrap that project and use the handlebars and stuff that we bought to throw together another little mini bike. So sorry, I know it's a lame ending to the video. Didn't get to see any kind of carnage or anything, but on to the next one. Sorry guys.